You know that feeling. Down on your knees in the July heat, yanking the same weeds out of the same border you cleared 2 weeks ago, wondering when it ends. Here is the part nobody selling you weed spray wants to admit. You will never win this fight by pulling harder or spraying more. Weeds only grow where you left them bare ground to grow in. Take that ground away, and they have nowhere to go. So today I am showing you 9 ground covers that end weeds without a single chemical. They spread into a living carpet that leaves weeds no room, no light, and no chance. Now before we start, one honest word so nobody plants the wrong thing. Every one of these covers a range of climates, but no single plant works in every yard on earth, so I will give you the hardiness zones for each as we go. Find your zone once, keep it in your back pocket, and you will know exactly which of these will settle in and thrive for you. And keep an eye out for number 5, because it does something none of the others on this list can do, and it is the one I reach for in the spot where nothing else will grow. Number 1 is creeping thyme, and this is the one I hand to anyone who is tired of weeding and short on patience. Creeping thyme is happy in zones 5 through 8. It loves full sun, and once it takes hold, it barely asks for a drink. That makes it a gift for the budget gardener, because a few small plants spread out into a tight, low carpet only 2 to 3 inches tall, and you never spend another dime keeping it going. Plant your little plugs about a foot apart in spring, in soil that drains well, and give them water while the roots take. Here is the one warning. Creeping thyme hates wet feet. Plant it in a soggy, low spot and it will rot instead of spread, so keep it in the dry, sunny places where it belongs. Now here is the part that does the real work. Thyme forms such a dense mat that light never reaches the soil underneath, and according to horticulture sources, it even releases natural compounds that discourage weed seeds from sprouting in the first place. Think of it like a lid on a pot. No light gets down to the weeds, so they simply give up. And as a bonus, brush your hand across it or step on it, and the whole patch smells like an herb garden. When it blooms in early summer, that carpet turns a soft purple that hums with bees. Which brings us to a plant that does the same job in the exact spot thyme can't handle. Number 2 is ajuga, which folks also call bugleweed, and this is your answer for the shady problem corner where the sun never really lands. Ajuga is one of the toughest covers you can plant, hardy across zones 3 through 10, and it thrives in the shade to part sun where thyme would sulk. For a gardener who wants beauty without babysitting, ajuga is a dream, because it fills in fast and it does it for free once it gets going. It spreads by little runners that creep along the surface, rooting as they go, and the leaves overlap into a dense mat of bronze and purple that blocks light from every weed underneath. In spring it throws up short spikes of blue flowers that look far fancier than the effort you put in. The care floor is almost nothing. Plant it in decent soil, keep it watered the first season, and step back. Now the honest warning, and it is a real one. Ajuga spreads with enthusiasm, and it does not respect the edge of your lawn. It will happily march into the grass if you let it, so give it a border it cannot cross, like a path, a buried edging strip, or a sidewalk, and you will love it instead of fighting it. Number 3 is periwinkle, the plant you may know by its Latin name, Vinca minor. This is the classic answer for dry shade under trees, that bare, root-filled ground where grass refuses to grow and weeds somehow still find a way. Periwinkle is hardy in zones 4 through 9. It shrugs off deep shade, and once established it handles drought better than almost anything else on this list. It forms an evergreen mat about 4 to 6 inches tall, glossy and dark green, and in spring it studs itself with those unmistakable blue-violet flowers. For the gardener who wants a spot to just look finished and stay finished, periwinkle is hard to beat, and it thrives on neglect. Now the caveat, and please take this one seriously. Vinca minor can spread aggressively, and it is considered invasive in some parts of the country, where it escapes gardens and smothers native plants in wild areas. So keep it contained in a bed with a hard edge, or a spot ringed by pavement, and never plant it right up against woods or a creek. Check your local guidance first. Used in the right place, it is a workhorse. Turned loose in the wrong one, it becomes the very thing you were trying to stop. Number 4 is creeping phlox, and this is the one that turns weed control into a springtime show. Creeping phlox is hardy across zones 3 through 9. It wants full sun, and it drapes itself into a mat so dense that in April and May you can barely see a leaf under all the flowers. Picture a solid sheet of pink, lavender, or white spilling over a low wall or a slope, and underneath it not a single weed getting any light. That is the trade you are making. For the budget gardener, a handful of plants set about 1.5 feet apart will knit together into a carpet you never have to replace. It likes well-drained soil and does not want to sit in water, so a slope or the top of a low wall suits it perfectly, because the water runs right off. Here is the care tip that saves it. Right after it finishes blooming in late spring, take your shears and cut the whole mat back by about half. It feels brutal, and the first time you do it your stomach will drop, but that hard haircut is the secret to keeping it thick and full in the middle instead of thin and bald with age. Skip it, and in a few years you get a hollow donut of a plant with a dead ring in the center where the weeds walk right back in. Now the next one is the plant I promised you at the start, and it earns the wait. Number 5 is sedum, sometimes called stonecrop, and this is the one that does what none of the others can. Every plant so far needs at least decent soil and a little water to get going. Sedum laughs at all of it. This is a succulent, which means its fat little leaves store their own water inside, so it thrives in the hot, dry, terrible spots where nothing else will even sprout. The gravelly strip along the driveway. The baking bed against a south-facing wall. The sandy patch that dries to concrete by noon. Sedum is hardy across zones 3 through 8. It demands full sun, and it wants almost no care at all, which makes it the ultimate plant for the gardener who forgets to water. Here is the trick that makes it feel like cheating. Sedum roots wherever a stem touches the ground, so you can snap off pieces, lay them right on the bare soil, and they take hold and spread on their own with no fuss at all. Think of it like a sourdough starter for your garden. One small plant becomes a whole carpet for nothing but a little patience and a few weeks of sun. It creeps into a low, fleshy mat that weeds simply cannot push through, and many types blush deep red and gold when the weather turns cool in fall. The one warning is the mirror image of time. Sedum will rot in wet, rich, shady ground, so keep it lean, dry, and sunny, and it will outlast you. If you are finding this useful so far, take a second to subscribe, because I share Plantancy Save Forever ideas like this every week. Now let me show you the 4 that finish the job. Number 6 is lamb's ear, and this is the one that makes people stop and touch it. The leaves are soft, silver, and fuzzy like felt, and they form a low, spreading mound that lights up a border in a way nothing green can. Lamb's ear is hardy across zones 4 through 9, it loves full sun, and once it is settled it barely needs watering, which is exactly what a low-maintenance garden wants. Those broad silver leaves overlap into a dense blanket that shades out weeds beautifully. Here is the one thing you have to respect. Lamb's ear looks its best and stays healthiest when its leaves stay dry and airy, so give it sun and good drainage and do not overwater it, because wet, crowded leaves invite rot and disease. Every 2 or 3 years, dig up the clump and split it into pieces, both to keep the middle from dying out and to get free new plants for the next bare spot. That is the budget gardener's favorite kind of math, one plant quietly turning into 3. And that silver carpet against a purple thyme and a blue periwinkle is exactly the kind of living quilt that makes a yard look designed instead of just weeded. Now here is a plant that pulls the same trick in full shade. Number 7 is sweet woodruff, and this is your answer for the cool, shady woodland corner under the trees. Sweet woodruff is hardy across zones 4 through 8. It wants partial to full shade, and it prefers moist, rich soil, though it will tolerate drier ground once it is established. It forms a soft, low carpet of bright green leaves arranged in little whorls, like tiny green stars stacked up the stems, topped with a froth of tiny white flowers in spring. For a shady spot that always looks patchy and weedy, this is a quick spreading fix that knits together into a fragrant weed-choking blanket. And here is a lovely bonus. When you cut or dry the leaves, they smell like fresh cut hay and vanilla, which is why it has been tucked into linen drawers for centuries to keep them smelling sweet. One honest note if you are curious about that scent in the kitchen. Sweet woodruff has a long history in traditional drinks, but it does contain a natural compound that is not meant for regular eating, so enjoy it for the garden and the fragrance, and leave the recipes to the history books. The warning here matches its strength. In rich, damp soil it can spread with real vigor, even to the point of being considered invasive, so give it a contained bed and it will behave. Number 8 is creeping jenny, and this one is a splash of pure sunshine for a spot that stays wet. Most of the covers on this list hate soggy ground. Creeping jenny is the opposite. It is hardy across zones 3 through 9, it grows in full sun to partial shade, and it thrives in the damp, low places where water tends to sit and weeds tend to win. It forms a leafy mat only 2 to 4 inches tall, and the golden variety, the one most people plant, glows a bright chartreuse that lights up a dim, wet corner like a spilled can of yellow paint. For the gardener with a boggy trouble spot, this is the rare cover that treats a problem like a home. Now the warning, and it is the same story as periwinkle. Creeping Jenny is a fast, hungry spreader that has become a real nuisance in some regions, so keep it in a contained bed, a low border, or a spot hemmed in by hard edges, and do not let it loose near a pond or a stream. Kept in bounds, that golden carpet smothers weeds and glows all season long. And that brings us to number 9, which is mazus, sometimes called creeping mazus. This is the one for the pathway, the stepping stones, and the spots that get walked on. Mazus is hardy across zones 5 through 8. It takes full sun or part shade, and it only ever grows about 2 to 3 inches tall, hugging the ground so tightly that you can walk right across it. That is the whole appeal for a low-maintenance yard. It fills the gaps between pavers and along the edges of a path where weeds always sprout, and it takes light foot traffic without complaint. It does ask for one thing in return. Mazus wants moist soil, so it is not the plant for a bone-dry strip, but give it steady moisture and it knits into a tidy green carpet, studded with tiny purple or white flowers that look like little snapdragons. For the gardener who is tired of pulling grass and weeds out of every crack in the walkway, mazus quietly ends that chore for good. So there is your list, all 9. Creeping thyme for the dry, sunny border. Ajuga for the shady corner. Periwinkle for the dry shade under trees. Creeping phlox for the springtime carpet on a slope. Sedum for the hot, terrible spot where nothing else lives. Lamb's ear for that soft silver glow. Sweet woodruff for the fragrant woodland shade. Creeping Jenny for the wet, boggy trouble spot. And mazus for the pathway you keep weeding. Now here is the mistake I do not want you to make. Do not read this and try to plant all 9 at once. That is how a good idea turns into an overwhelming weekend, a sore back, and a pile of half-dead plugs. Instead, do this. Pick 3 from this list. Just 3. Match them to your 3 worst spots, the sunny one, the shady one, and the wet one, and plant only those this season. Get them established, watch them spread, and let them prove it to you. Next year you add 3 more. Picture it next July. You walk out into that same border that used to defeat you, and instead of bare dirt and a fresh crop of weeds, there is a living quilt. Silver lamb's ear next to a purple wash of thyme, a spill of blue periwinkle catching the light, every inch of soil covered and calm in yours. No spray bottle. No aching knees. No same old fight 2 weeks from now. Just a garden that finally holds its ground on its own. If this helped you look at those bare, weedy spots a little differently, you will feel right at home here, because working smarter instead of harder in the garden is the whole point of this channel. So pick your 3, get them in the ground this season, and tell me down in the comments which trouble spot you are finally going to hand over to a ground cover. I read every one, and I would love to know where you are starting.